General Corelli and distinguished members of the panel, it's great to have the opportunity to have this conversation with you today. I wanted to preface my question with just a few numbers that I think are illuminating to kind of set the stage for how we approach the budget for the Department of Military and Veterans Affairs. Consisting of 2,600 employees, one of the top 10 employers in the state, providing for about 22,000 guardsmen. And in order to do that, we were able to do that by having an overall budget of about $396 million, which $201 million of that comes in from the federal level. So all of that happens at a cost to state appropriated funds of about $160 million. And I think that one of the things that that I think is not well understood sometimes is just how does that partnership between the state and federal level work? Because most people might take a mental shortcut and think, well, the military, that's a federal thing, right? But we have this really interesting model that the National Guard has a long history of, but maybe is poorly understood. So I guess the first question I want to ask is, what would happen if we failed to fund the National Guard at the state level, these matching funds that allow us to access the federal partnership? Would it be reasonable to assume that those federal funds would just flow to other states and we would lose this asset in our Commonwealth?
Oh, absolutely. If we don't have the necessary share to put in, then we don't get funded. And there's plenty of other states, so they rack and stack by priorities. And Pennsylvania is a large state, so we usually certainly get our fair share. But if we didn't have the money to put across that, it would go somewhere else. If you look at percentage-wise, you know, people talk about DMVA as a small agency, with number of bodies, number of budget, like you said, $160 million on our budget. Well, just realize that the state share to just the National Guard, I'm not talking about the veteran side, just the National Guard side, the state's paying 5% of the National Guard bill. Okay, the federal government's paying 95% of that. For every 1,000 guardsmen we have, the state pays the federal government's putting in about $34 million. That's why this was so important last year when we asked you for the military family education bill, which by the way, has broke that continuing decline of our force structure, and we started on the way back up again. So that's had a great effect. But for every 1,000, if we lose force structure, and the conversations have already started. There's already talk at the national level and other states that see Pennsylvania numbers declining, and they want our units. You know, so their discussions have already started about Pennsylvania being a red state and pulling more force structure out of Pennsylvania. Well, for every 1,000 guardsmen that we lose about $35 million of federal money.
And I appreciate you highlighting that, and you actually went exactly where I wanted to go, because there's the budgetary side and there's the human capital side, and that's where elements like the Education Assistance Program, the Military Family Education Program come in, because one of the things that we need to do is we need to make sure that we're fielding the people that can actually fill these roles that obviously we have a budget to back up. So I wanted to go a little bit into the Educational Assistance Program, the Military Family Education Program. So the Educational Assistance Program is something that has a little bit of a longer history that provides educational benefits for guardsmen, for Army and Air service members in our state. And then last year, of course, we stood up the Military Family Education Program, which allows people who are extending their term of service to access educational benefits for their family, a spouse, a loved one, a child. And that makes sense because when people are at that point in their career, maybe they've already got their education, but they're thinking about their family. So I wanted to set that up to ask you, how can we do a better job of getting the word out? Because we do need to find the people. We do need to recruit the people to come in, whether they're new people coming in and enticing them with the Educational Assistance Program, or whether it's enticing people to think about the long term, come in and say, not only can you access educational benefits for yourself, but there will be an opportunity for you to get educational benefits for your family as well. What can we do as a state, as a Commonwealth, in partnership with your department to better publicize these benefits that are available and make that our case to the people of Pennsylvania that we can improve their lives in exchange for service that they would provide to their Commonwealth and their country?
So, great question. I mean, some of that is advertising, some of that is just contact. What we've done internally in the Guard is we've sent like little we use our federal recruiting money and sent postcards out to all of our guardsmen showing the Military Family Education Program, saying, hey, here's a great program, because even our own people don't know about it as much as we try to advertise that. And the recruiting part, I mean, we're doing better in recruiting. If you look at Pennsylvania, about 8,900 Pennsylvanians enlist in some component of military service every year. The Guard share of that has been on the decrease year after year after year. We used to be about 21%. 21% of the young people enlisting in the military used to come to our National Guard. We bottomed out at 15%. Now this year, with the help of that MFEB program, we've rebounded. Now we're at 17%. So we're on our way back up. But we need to be able to advertise that more, and we need to be able to get in the schools more. I mean, honestly, we have some school systems in Pennsylvania that don't want military recruiters in their school, and that's a problem for us. I mean, and we're not trying to strong arm but we just want people to be aware of the opportunities that we have in Pennsylvania. I did a Memorial Day event at the Big 33 football game. You know, so the all-stars of all the Pennsylvania high school football teams come together in a single event. And I was talking to those coaches about the school programs that we have. And they said, I wish I knew that before, because they have a lot of great people that they coach, that they're athletes of theirs in high school, that want to go to college. Some of them are not capable of getting scholarships, paid for scholarships. And some of those families just didn't have a way to pay for school. And they said, are you telling me if they joined the National Guard, you would pay for the school? I said, absolutely. And they said, we need to know more about this program. I mean, and so some of those schools are some of the same schools that won't take our recruiters in to just pass out information about those programs. So we need to do a better job of that. Again, just to show that there's an alternative out there. It's an honorable career field. It's not for everybody, but here's another way to be able to get a great education and get a good job.